Hey kids, we're a couple of annoyed grunt boys, and this is the 138th Simpsons Podcast.
Chaka Khan, let me rock you, Chaka Khan, Chaka Khan, Chaka Khan, Chaka Khan!
That's right, we're the podcast that explores the American animated sitcom The Simpsons from seasons 11 and beyond, and the newest ones when they're available, and occasionally episodes in chronological order. Why do we do it like this? Well, an entity known as the Wheel of Random has trapped us and forced us to watch the show in this way. Plus, there's plenty of other podcasts to explore the show in the golden era, that being seasons 1 through 10. I say we because I'm one annoyed grunt boy named Steve, and with me, as always, is the other annoyed grunt boy,
Dr. Hot Dog.
Dr. Hot Dog. I don't get it.
It's because you're dumb.
That sounds like a joke that I don't understand, which is a great segue because I wanted to talk about jokes from The Simpsons that, when we first saw them, we just didn't get. For one instance, they mention the Rashomon, and Homer says, I don't remember it like that. And at the time, I didn't know what a Rashomon was. I just thought it was a funny word. But it's actually the retelling of a story through different perspectives, thereby changing the story, and so Homer wouldn't remember it the way somebody else does. When I first heard of Homer's Odyssey, in like season 1 or 2, or whenever that was, I don't think I knew that it was a book. I just thought they were literally talking about his crappy minivan.
Yeah, I was watching Camp Krusty, and Bart's going to his locker, and he's putting his locker combination in, and he says 36, 24, 36, and he chuckles. And I just realized, like, that joke was, he was laughing because that's the hourglass figure for a woman, 36, 24, the measurements. Yeah, I'm like, oh, that probably flew by me as a kid, because I've never noticed that. There's also, I believe it was a couple years ago, at this point, that one joke where Homer is in the shower at the nuclear power plant and runs in to grab the phone. And he's got the towel around his waist, and he's like, you have to speak up I'm wearing a towel. And at the time, I just thought it's a silly joke because it doesn't make sense. But in actuality, like, it was Bill Oakley, I think, said that it was a reference to, like, old-timey days when women would drape their hair after a shower in a towel and the phone would ring, and then they'd put the receiver to their ear, but the towel's blocking it, so they'd tell whoever's on the other end to speak up because they're wearing a towel over their head. But it's funny because Homer doesn't have a towel on his head.
Yeah, it's around his waist. It's funny. Another one is when Lisa goes to Washington. There's a banner on the wall that says it's the contest is sponsored by Reader's Digest, and it says brevity is ... wit. And that joke is actually because it's a Shakespeare quote that is, brevity is the soul of wit, and they shortened it to make it more brevy, to be brevity is wit. So they shortened an already short quote about how it's better to be short with your quotes. So I thought that was funny.
A more abbreviated quote, yeah. So it'd be like, instead of Bart saying, eat my shorts, he should just say, eat pant.
Eat pant, I like it.
Yeah.
Probably one of the biggest jokes that people didn't get the first time around that has now been popular on the internet is Sneed's Feed and Sneed's Feed and Seed, formerly Chuck's, which takes a lot of thinking, but it turns out to be Chuck's Suck and Fuck, which is filthy and funny. Also, this Springfield Heights Institute of Technology, which spells out shit.
Oh, that's new one to me. You just gave me a joke I've never thought of. Yeah, that's funny.
Also, in the episode with the bordello, I don't think that I realized that we put the spring in Springfield was an erection joke.
Steve, what's an erection?
I'll tell you later, and I'll show you sooner.
I don't want to see anything right now, Steve, except for The Simpsons.
Alrighty. And hey, listeners, if there was a joke that you didn't get, or that you didn't get and then did get, let us know by emailing us at 138simpsons. And for now, let's go back in time, all the way back to May 11th, 2003. Craig, what was the number one movie in the box office?
Still number one, Steve, was X2, X-Men United.
Oh boy.
Just like last week. Wolverine, Hugh Jackman Wolverine, he's here to stay. Rumors have it that he's literally going to play Wolverine until he's dead.
Oh wow. He's pretty occupied. I guess he's getting busy.
Huh?
Which leads us to the number one song on the Billboard Hot 100, Get Busy, by Sean Paul.
Sean Paul, he's fine, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's not like Sean Diddy Combs.
Or Sean Connery, who's dead.
It's true. It's sad.
Steve, is this where I belong?
Somewhere where you belong. Like Chicago, where Linkin Park is from.
Oh.
Which leads us to the number one song on the Hot Rock and Alternatives charts, Somewhere I Belong by Linkin Park. Do you remember that, Craig? Do you remember?
Have you forgotten, Mr. Daryl Worley?
That's right. The number one country song is Have You Forgotten by Daryl Worley, which is like a writer's, like a sitcom writer's name for a country singer. Daryl Worley. Like, it sounds fake.
And Steve, right now, the political climate in this country is just on the edge. I feel like I have to, bringing anything up about politics. I'm really like walking on thin ice here, so I don't really want to bring anything up.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
That's right. The number one song on the Hot Dance and Electric chart was Walking on Thin Ice by Ono. That Ono being Yoko Ono.
She was married to John Lennon, a former Beatle.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And she's a talented artist. Huh. And she had a guest appearance on Mad About You, too. Wow.
Steve, you don't have to use the word talented.
Okay, she was an artist.
Steve, you don't have to use that word either.
She was a person, and she still is. And so are the Simpsons.
They're people now?
They're people of sorts. Animated people, my favorite kind of people. And today we're going to talk about them, specifically about Break My Wife Please, in which Homer is banned from driving, and Marge becomes stressed having to drive everyone around while Homer enjoys walking everywhere until Marge drives into him. Woo!
Sounds dangerous, Steve.
That's right, it is dangerous, but so is life. So, strap in, buckle up,
strap on
the strapper, and we'll be right back. And we're back. Today we're talking about Break My Wife Please, the 20th episode of the 14th season. It is episode 311 in the show's run. It originally aired on May 11th, 2003. Your nerd code is EABF15. It was written by Tim Long, directed by Peter Mickles, and your showrunner is Al G.
Do you want to hear something really gross about Tim Long?
What's that?
He's from Canada.
Ugh. Oh, Canada.
Yeah. But look, he makes it up for being born in the best year ever, 1969.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything about the length of his name in correlation, because I think we've done it plenty of times on this podcast.
It's true.
What's he doing lately, Steve? Is he still writing on Simpsons?
Yeah, I think that he was, we last spoke to him about him in October of last year when he wrote Desperately Seeking Lisa.
Did he do the season finale for season 34, right? The Homer's Adventure Through the Windshield Glass?
He did, yes, he did do that, as well as Poorhouse Rock in season 33.
What's a Tim Long episode that we have yet to review that is on top of your list that maybe he wrote with George Meyer, Matt Selman, and Mike Scully?
Oh, perhaps it's Behind the Laughter?
I think we bring it up every time, still have yet to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, so he wrote, also with Matt Selman and Larry Doyle, Simpsons Bible Stories, which we cannot review, because that is before season 11 and the Wheel of Random won't allow it. But also he wrote, of course, another episode we talk about way too much, Lisa Goes Gaga.
If we can't get Gaga, I mean, I know we can get Gaga. She wants to do the podcast, again, scheduling, but maybe we'll have Tim Long on to talk about Lisa Goes Gaga. Yeah,
and we'll make it a short episode.
I'm sure many Simpsons podcasters have had him on. Does he do a lot of Simpsons podcasts? I don't listen to Simpsons podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that I've really seen his name pop up in a lot of Simpsons podcasts, but I too, am afraid of, accidentally ripping off somebody else's shtick.
Right.
If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it intentionally.
Steve, we would never rip off anyone's bits from any podcast, so with that being said, we're going to try a new snack. It's called Snack or Whack. All right, Steve?
No, I got a beverage for us. I think it's going to be Stank or Drank.
I also have Guess This Pie in the Sky. What's this bit called?
Yeah, I think it's Pie in the Sky.
But before we get to the show, Steve, let's do our signature drops.
Yes. And I'll give a quick but informative preamble about the history of the thing that we're talking about. That is not really funny, but it is informative. But it's funny because I'm just trying to say a lot of information in under a minute.
But somehow also incorporate like a video game that you play.
Right.
Because that's usually what it is about.
Yeah, it's true. Because, I used to work in video games.
Oh yeah, and
Worked on
one
the
of us used
Sopranos
to work
game.
in Simpsons. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you did? You never mentioned it.
Okay, we won't copy that podcast, so let's just do our own thing, Steve. So let's lock the gates and start this podcast.
I'm Joe Rogan. Okay, here we go.
Is that how he starts his podcast?
I assume so.
I'm Joe Rogan, and let's start the podcast.
His fans are dumb, so they need to remember who they're listening to.
All right, Steve, let's just get on with the episode, okay?
Okay, do we get a couch gag?
Yeah, we do, Steve.
Well, what happens?
Well, you see the Simpsons put their heads into a carnival-style cutout with the family sitting on the couch, with Lisa in Homer's spot, Homer in Marge, Maggie in Lisa, Bart in Maggie, and Marge in Bart. A photographer with that old-timey camera takes a picture to capture the moment.
Oh.
There you go.
Short and to the point. I like it. Well, Craig, our episode begins, as it always does, at the Springfield Aquarium. Watch out for Troy McClure, where the dead fish are skimmed daily. The students of Springfield, they're on a field trip, and Marge has volunteered to chaperone. Principal Skinner is rightfully grateful for Marge's assistance, as she straightens his hair and removes a sign taped to his back that says, "Kick me hard." And even before he knew of the sign, Seymour noticed extra power behind his student's kick to his rear.
You ever put a kick me sign on your principal?
I don't think so. I know it's cool to, say screw you to authority. I never, really interacted with any principal that I had, so I wasn't really upset with them because I didn't really know what they did.
Yeah, I don't think I ever... One, I don't remember the names of the principals
That's true.
of any school. I never had an interaction. You're right. We were good kids, Steve.
Yeah.
Well, as Bart looks through a pamphlet while waiting in line, he comments that if he could be any kind of shark, it'd be a tiger shark. So he asks Milhouse what kind he'd be, and then he just answers, a nurse shark. And he's like, oh, before he could correct himself, the bullies pound him. Steve, if you could be a shark, what shark would you be?
Mr. Fantastic.
Do you mean Mr. Wonderful?
Oh, yeah.
Let's try that again.
Alright.
Steve, if you could be a shark, which one would you be?
Mr. Wonderful.
Because he's bald?
Exactly.
I saw you more as a Barbara type.
Yeah. Not the FUBU guy?
I guess he's bald too. But you know who you never want to be? Robert, because no one likes to be on Robert's side.
That's true.
I feel bad for him sometimes. Although I don't, because he cheated on his wife with his Dance to the Star partner. Remember that a couple years ago?
I kind of do, yeah. Who's the Mavericks guy? He's the good one.
Yeah, Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban, yeah. He's probably of all the rich assholes, he's probably the best one.
I think he's not on the show anymore.
Oh, okay. I haven't watched it in a while, so.
Yeah, I honestly, it's probably been 10 years since I've watched Shark Tank.
I just feel when I had cable, actual cable, it'd be a weekend in MSNBC or CNBC or whatever. We just show 10 episodes a day on a Saturday, and I'd be this is my life now, so this is what I'm going to do. That's the only time I ever really watched it.
Yeah. If I was a shark, Steve,
I'd
be those tasty gummy sharks from the...
oh,
the 90s.
yeah.
Yeah, the white one. That was the
Of
best
course, the white one.
Anyway, Steve, let's continue the show. We have a clip here from the tour guide that's showing the students around in the aquarium.
Well, it looks like Mr. Walrus and his family are enjoying their Sunday brunch. Shut up. What am I, some sort of joke to you people? Now, over here is our newest exhibit, The Wonders of the Gulf Coast. Shut up. It's not that exciting. The Gulf is home to a breathtaking array of sea life. But oil spills are threatening this delicate ecosystem.
Hey, without oil, you wouldn't have your fancy four-wheel drives. You want to go back to two-wheel drive? Well, do ya? I didn't mean to steal focus.
Antarctic life is a constant struggle. These sea lions survive by eating the leftovers of the various film crews that plague the continent.
I love the tour guide.
Shut up.
Shut up. That's really funny.
I like how rich Texans just on the tour. Mm-hmm. What Gulf were they talking about, Steve?
The Gulf of America?
Thank you.
That's right.
The correct Gulf, right.
Yes.
Because that's going to happen. Not a political podcast. I just like the idea of the disgruntled tour guide.
Yeah, it's like, these people are just reacting as they should, and you're like, shut up.
That's very, already the tour guide is starting off the nomination for MVJ of this episode.
That's exactly what I thought. Oh, and to answer your question, what kind of shark, which shark would I be? I'd be Joe Pavlesky, the center for the San Jose Sharks.
Steve, we're off of sharks now, okay?
Okay, sorry. Joe Thornton. While the other students watch an informational video about life in the Antarctic, Lisa looks over at the door to the penguin habitat, which happens to be under repair. She pops her head in to see the penguins flying in circles until they see her, and then all quickly land, acting casual but with a little bit of shifty eyes. It feels like a Far Side comic come to life.
Another great scene. Just, the penguins have been hiding their ability to fly this whole time.
Yeah, it's funny.
Which penguin do you prefer, Colin Farrell or Sidney Crosby?
A year ago, I probably would have said Sid, but I think Colin's good in the paint, by which I mean the makeup, because there's no paint in hockey. I don't even know what that means in the paint, but
Yeah.
It's a sports term, I assume.
It sure sounds.
Yeah, right? Yeah. But yeah, Colin Farrell, he's great. And I forget it's him, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's the Penguin. He's good.
When's the last time you saw some penguins?
Been a while, I'll be honest with you.
Besides hockey players, I feel like you like a penguin.
I do like a
an
penguin.
animal.
Yeah, I think they're interesting. I respect the fact that the male penguins help incubate the egg. I think they are snappy dressers. I like the way that they slide down the ice. They're great animals, and they have scary mouths. Like, have you ever seen the inside of a penguin's mouth? It's frightening.
Well, I haven't been that close to a penguin, Steve.
Well, I just gotta say, just careful what you stick in there, because it's not coming back.
All right. Well, the tour continues with the guide showing the kids the Pacific habitat, which is also under construction. Lisa asks where the fish are held during the remodel, and the aquarium guide assures her that they are well taken care of in a storage facility. We then cut to the storage facility, which is just a mop closet with several kinds of sea life, including a pufferfish, an octopus, killer whale, all in individual little plastic bags filled with water. Just, large enough to contain their bodies.
Do you ever win a goldfish or anything from, like, a carnival or anything?
Yeah, every weekend when I go to the carnival, I always win a goldfish.
Nice.
I remember that as a kid, though, getting that goldfish with that plastic bag and coming home, trying to find where to put it.
It's funny, I have two distinct memories of goldfish in bags from sitcoms. Because I remember it was Michelle getting one, and then they had, like, a whole wall of goldfish in case that one dies.
Yeah.
And then,
that
of course,
was the joke.
I remember the classic episode of Seinfeld in the parking lot, where Elaine had a goldfish for some reason.
Yeah, you don't see goldfish as prizes anymore at carnivals and fairs.
I mean, I don't think people, like, really go to carnivals and fairs anymore. Like, I'm sure they do, but not like they did in the 90s.
Yeah. It's for the best that you don't give away a fish to a kid, because it's likely going to die.
Well, yeah, and you shouldn't keep them in tiny plastic bags either.
No. But human children are okay, right? Tiny plastic bags?
Yeah.
Filled with water?
Yeah, tiny plastic bags are for children, drugs, and maybe some granola.
All right.
Next up, an exhibit showing the most exotic species in the coral reef. As Principal Skinner points out, a giant clam appears to be opening. Seymour excitedly tells the kids that would make for a wonderful journal entry. As the bivalve mollusk begins to open, everyone gasps. 2 round, yellow orbs appear, and Skinner is impressed by the size of what he assumes are flawless pearls. He soon learns, though, that those flawless pearls are actually the butt cheeks of Bart Simpson, who dances in the clam after mooning the class. While the kids laugh, Seymour remarks that he might have known, but didn't.
Marge yells to tell her son to get out of the tank, and that's why he swims towards the surface. A giant octopus uses his tentacles to grab Bart's hand and hold them behind his back, so this allows for a tortoise to punch him in the gut. While a hammerhead shark, so that's a cool British shark. Yeah, that's a cool shark. Which lives up to his name, knocking Bart on the head.
So Bart's, because of those injuries, sent to Springfield General Hospital to get examined. And Marge is worried, but Dr. Hibbert assures him that this kind of injury happens all the time. He then points to an aquarium mishap poster hanging on his wall, which shows Ralph with a pufferfish inflated into his mouth, a kid with his head stuck in a whale's blowhole, and a giant squid dumping children from a school bus into its mouth as though they were the last few Pringles in the can.
So Dr. Hibbert is confident that Bart will be up and underachieving in no time. But he does need Marge's insurance card. So after looking through her purse, Marge discovers that Homer is in possession of that insurance card. Hibbert shows a little concern, but he does handcuff Bart to a radiator next to his hospital bed, where he'll be stuck until the family can find some insurance.
Well, it's a good thing that, 22 years later, our healthcare system is so much better and that we don't have to worry about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
After some deducing about where Homer could be at 11 on a workday, Marge figures he must be at his favorite watering hole. So she gives Moe's Tavern a call, asking about the whereabouts of Homer, and Moe blindly waves the end of a broom around the bar seats, and he comes to the conclusion that Homer isn't there. Moe then asks Marge what she's wearing, and is answered by a dial tone.
We've seen the joke of when someone calls Moe, they do the Bart prank joke. Do you think there could have been a Bart prank joke here?
Yeah, I think so.
Like, is Homer there? And then, Moe being like, that's it. I'm gonna butter you. Or whatever he does.
Yeah, and then he realizes, oh, it's Midge. I wanna fuck you.
He says it like that, yeah.
Then I wanna kill you.
Steve, can you say that again so I can isolate that?
I wanna kill you.
No, the other one.
I wanna fuck you.
So as the night goes on, Marge and the kids grow tired and impatient waiting at the hospital. Bart wants to give it another 5 minutes and then he's going to chew off his hand. But before that happens, Homer appears with a reasonable excuse regarding his absence. He explains that he went to the video store to rent a movie for the family.
So, while walking in the aisles of the video store, which is like Netflix but in real life, for those who don't know what a video store is, Homer's intrigued by the featured presentations on the store's TVs. One trailer begins, he's got a nose for news and a diaper full of headlines. And on screen, a reporter runs to bring a breaking story to his chief. The chair turns and it's revealed to be a monkey wearing suspenders, a tie, and a fedora while smoking a cigar. That's right, he's Editor-in-Chimp.
Definitely want to watch that movie.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah. So Homer giggles wildly, delighted to see a monkey wearing a hat. His mirth is distracted by another video being shown, a presentation of Lifetime Films entitled Buttercups of Autumn.
I fear I have become a buttercup of winter.
Hush up, Nana. That's fool talk.
Now that she's so wise, but nobody's gonna benefit from her wisdom. Look, he's misspelling words. Oh, so she's holding.
Well, from now on, you need to get a cell phone so I can reach you.
You just can't get a cell phone.
Lindsay Nagel, Veriqual Cellular, and I can offer you a whole range of cellular solutions.
Can I get a phone that plays the Mexican hat dance?
I insist on it.
I dance, I dance, I dance around the Mexican hat. I dance, I dance, I dance. And that's the end of that. Or is it? I guess I'll keep singing. My cell phone appears to be ringing.
This is the beginning of people getting cell phones,
Yeah, I'm actually thinking this is probably around the time, maybe even before that I got my first cell phone. Because, 2003, I may have not even had one yet.
I had one, Steve.
But it is funny that, the things about cell phones then were the ringtones and how small they could be.
Yeah, it's interesting how fast the technology of cell phones, you're thinking, around 2000, yeah, because I had a cell phone right away. In 2000, and you download a ringtone, which was like a MIDI, and then playing Snake was your game,
right?
And never once in a million years would you think, well, eventually this will have music and a camera, and then only a couple years after that, it's after the invention of the iPod, which again was really cool. I was like, the iPods are the greatest thing ever. All my music stored in one little device, and then it's the iPod Touch came out. It's like, wait, now your music, and it became a phone with a camera. And it's just bonkers how the technology we had such short period of time of I still have my cell phone, but I still have a disc CD player, and then it became MP3 player,
and
then you still have a nice digital camera because those are replacing film. But then within a span of 5 years, all that just is your phone. And now that's all you need. Like, you don't even need a personal computer anymore.
Right, like you don't need a personal computer, you don't necessarily need a car stereo of any kind because you can just Bluetooth your phone. Everything that you had to have, like all the electronics, are now just in your phone. It's weird.
And soon, where's it going to be, Steve?
In your butt.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yep. I do wonder, though, like, have we, like, plateaued with cellular phone technology at this point? Because, like, I feel like for the past, 5, maybe 10 years, there hasn't been, like, any real new innovations. They're just like, oh, the camera's better, or, like, the screen looks a little bit bigger or better. Like,
And that's about it.
yeah, like, I think I have, like, my phone is, like, 2 or 3 generations old, and my wife's is, like, 4 generations old. They're the same phone. And if I were to buy a new one tomorrow, it'd be basically the same phone.
Well, why don't you, Steve?
Maybe I will, Greg. Maybe I will.
Better get your phone cheaper now before tariffs.
That's right. Not a political podcast. In that clip, I really like, first of all, Lindsay Naegle just popping out of nowhere, but she wasn't just popping out of nowhere. She was hanging out in the morgue.
You'd never?
I mean, I would.
Okay. I would too, just in case you see a ghost.
That's true.
That's where they're going to be, right?
Yeah.
Would you ever have Whoopi in a morgue?
See, that's actually, it's funny that you bring that up, because one of the things that we know about Lindsay, that's not a story for me.
No.
But one of the things that we know about Lindsay Naegle is that she is a sex addict. And so maybe she was like, I don't want to imply that she was like looking for a stiff body, but maybe she was.
So she's into necrophilia is what you're trying to say?
I mean, if it's frozen, if there's ice on the field, you can play hockey. That's what I always say.
With the Penguins.
Exactly, and the Sharks.
All right, well, on the road, Homer swerves in his lane while eating a donut and talking on his new cellular device. So when he asks Barney if he's ever noticed how difficult it is to drive with your knees, Barney, and if you notice he's in his sober era, suggests that Homer gets a hand-free phone, saying it's the next best thing to paying attention to the road. So Homer considers the possibilities of hands-free lifestyle, saying that he could, as he puts it, give the brothers the Black Power salute. Also, technology-wise, it's interesting that they're already talking about how driving and holding your cell phone, talking on your phone in the car is already a problem and dangerous. Yeah. And this is before there's laws in place of, you can't be talking on your phone or, holding your phone. You're talking about cars and phones, and my phone is so integrated to my car as well that, if someone calls me, I can just hit a button and talk, but I, never talk on my cell phone. So,
right.
Do you think I'll be answering the phone in my car for scam likely? I'm like, no, I'm not going to talk to, although I probably would.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to talk to people, and maybe they have something interesting. Maybe it's friend likely.
I'm just going to change all my contacts in my phone to scam likely. So if I see a text from scam likely, I don't have to read it.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, when I text you, you won't answer, but that's fine.
Yeah. Do the same.
All right, I will.
So much better.
Homer raises his fist and chants Black Power to the car driving next to him, which just so happens to be a convertible with Carl, Lou the Cop, Dr. Hibbert, and Dedrick Tatum, who were all the black characters of note at Springfield at the time, which is weird because we've never really seen the 4 of them hang out together, but for the joke, they are all going somewhere. So as Homer speeds off, Carl wonders if that was Al Roker, leaving Dedrick Tatum to comment that his exuberance is perplexing.
Yeah, is this joke a dig at The Simpsons for lack of diversity?
I think it kind of is, and there are some, metatextual jokes in this episode, quite a few actually, and this is, I think, one of them.
And the fact that a white person is also doing the voices of Carl.
All of them.
Yeah. So in the electronics section at the Try and Save, Homer looks for a headset to allow him to drive without distraction. The employee there says that, yes, they do have headsets, but Homer would be mad to stop there. He then shows Homer a world of possibilities.
Tell me, what is currently plugged into your car's cigarette lighter?
A lighter.
I weep for you. These days, everything from fax machines to coffee makers can be plugged into your dash hole.
I'll take 'em. DVD player? Check. Snow cone machine? Check. Light bright? Check. Fog machine? Even I think this is crazy.
I like dash hole.
I was going to ask you, Steve, what's plugged into your dash hole?
Butt plug.
And a cigarette lighter.
Yeah. I guess, like, cigarette lighters aren't even a thing anymore. Are they?
Well, you still have them,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no, like, actual lighter where you push it in and heat comes out. It's still, like a volt thing to charge.
Right.
Yeah.
It's wild. So Homer scratches his in-car turntable while shouting Grandmaster Melly Mel's line from Shaka Khan's I Feel For You. He then watches the dashboard-mounted television where Emeril Lagasse, Bam, is mixing a batter and frying up some hush puppies. Homer whisks along and then pulls his hush puppies out of the car's deep fryer, salting them under the heat lamp. And I gotta say, nowadays, it'd be better to have an air fryer. One, it's healthier, but two, you wouldn't have the hot oil splashing around. So he takes a bite out of the fried treat, but it's too hot for him, so he spits it out of the window. And as he does, he discovers that he's driving on a dock, headed straight for the water.
You really know what time period you're in when you see Emeril Lagasse.
I think last week we were talking about Regis Philbin and how he had a moment in time where he was the guy. And I think literally like a week later, Emeril Lagasse was the guy. He had like a sitcom briefly on NBC, and like he was like the chef that everyone respected and liked. And I don't know, was his food actually good?
I think at that time, I remember doing like his fettuccine Alfredo recipe, which is a pretty basic recipe anywhere. So I think, yeah, that when I was made that, I was like, this is how Emeril Lagasse bakes it. Bam.
Yeah, I think that before everybody was on a food blog, I think he made the gap between like gourmet food and like food that people could make. The celebrity chef wasn't quite a thing, so he was kind of becoming that, and he was a bit more accessible. So yeah.
The people that I really, you I guess get recipes from, or the TV ones would be him, Good Eats with Alton Brown.
Right.
And then the canceled people like Mario Batali and Julia Childs. She knows what she did.
Yes.
Well, actually, you remember that one guy...
the Frugal Gourmet.
Yeah, watching him on PBS with my family as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Turned out he was very bad because of pedophilia.
Yes. I remember my dad really liked him.
But that was after he found out.
Exactly. He's like, well, his food's good, and he's got some other good things, too.
He later grew up to be Jared from Subway. But I think Emeril, like, he just kind of, like, made so much money and just said, you know what, fuck this, I'm retiring. And you don't really hear from much anymore, and hopefully he's not problematic like others.
Right. I don't think he is. I think, like, he may have briefly had, like, a travel food show on, like, Hulu or Amazon, but yeah, he just kind of stayed quiet. Yeah, I kind of respect that, because, like, I don't care one way or another about Rachel Ray, but it's kind of sad when you see a celebrity chef making commercials for dog food.
Is her recipes that bad? They're like, ugh, she's not a good cook. She's
exactly,
dog
like,
food.
It's good for dogs.
No, she puts her money where her mouth is. I think she does a lot of good causes for animals, Steve.
That's true, she does.
I think Emeril, like, has, like, a TikTok channel, and every once in a while just does some things on TikTok, like twerking, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Bam, bam, bam. That's my butt.
He's also probably, like, in his 90s.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, knowing that Homer needs to take action, he looks around at all the new car accessories and writes SOS on a piece of paper, then sends it as a fax. So a fax is a machine that's been around since Abraham Lincoln days, right?
It is, yeah. It's been around since the 1800s.
So he waits for it to transmit, and the car splashes into the body of water, leaving Homer to shout, "Save me, Shaka Khan! Shaka Khan!"
Shaka Khan.
See, this is still before texting, because Steve, Homer would have texted SOS rather than send a fax.
Yeah, I would have texted too.
And like we said, all these things that Homer did in his car are all apps. Like, there's a deep frying app on my phone right now. I can just, like, deep fry things, whatever I want.
Yeah, deep fryer, but it's just DPFRR.
Actually, remember that when, like, the iPod Touch came out? Like, how many stupid apps, like, here's me drinking a beer. Like,
right.
You tilt it back and the beer goes away.
Here's a fart app. I mean, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Silly stuff, Steve.
Yeah. So, a helicopter airlifts Homer and his car out of the water, and he vows never to mock the Coast Guard again, saying that those Navy rejects are all right. And the camera zooms out to show that the car is being rescued is a video shown as evidence in a courtroom. Judge Constance Harm, once again played by Jane Kasmerick in her 5th of 9 episodes, demands that Homer give up his license.
So Homer obeys, and Judge Harm takes the license and slices it using a tiny guillotine. She then hands the 2 halves of the ID to the bailiff, who feeds them to 2 police dogs. So after the growling canines chow down on the licenses, the judge orders for their poop to be burned. While Marge drives Homer, he complains about his newfound limitations, and Marge offers to step in where she is needed.
I am so screwed. I can't drive to work, I can't drive to the store, and I certainly can't drive to the store at work.
I guess I'll have to do all your driving chores. That's what a good wife does, picks up the slack.
That reminds me, we gotta pick up my slacks at that dry cleaner in Shelbyville.
Why can't you use the local dry cleaner?
I didn't want them to know my size. Thanks for picking my friends up from the strip club, Marge.
Can we stop for ice cream?
Homer always stops for ice cream.
We'll see.
That always means no.
Where's your mother? I gotta get to Moe's.
Dad, Mom's been driving everyone everywhere. Why don't you take public transportation?
Public transportation is for jerks and lesbians. Oh, I guess I'll walk.
I take a lot of public transportation.
Well, you are a lesbian.
That's true. And I am a jerk as well.
So Marge in that clip also says she do all the driving chores because that's what a good wife does. Steve, I've never seen the show The Good Wife. Is that all it's about, is a woman that just does chores driving around?
Yes, I'm reading the IMDb description and it says, Alice Florrick, played by Juliana Margulies, has been a good wife driving her husband, a former state attorney, around. That is her job. That's the whole show.
Huh. And that has critical acclaim.
Because it's got Juliana Margulies and Chris Noth, Mr. Big from Sex and the City, and other people. Alan Cumming, wow.
Who's going to clean up Alan Cumming?
That's funny. Not me.
Oh, okay. I was just asking who's going to clean up his cum. I guess our listeners will.
Isn't it funny that there's an Alan Thicke and there's an Alan Cumming?
There was an Alan Thicke. But now he's dead, thanks to Mike Seaver.
Mike!
Ben!
So Homer trots down the street, complaining that walking is stupid. His thighs are chafing horribly, and there's no drink holder. He misses his car so much, and it seems that everyone is driving except for him. And as he says this, comic book guy drives by in an orange Volkswagen Beetle, shouting the Sammy Hagar song, I Can't Drive 55, adding that his vehicle can only go 38.
And Ralph Wiggum passes Homer in a police cruiser, saying, I let go of the parking brake. Wait, that's not Wiggum.
Wookie meant I did.
See, when you write quotes around something, it means I have to do the impersonation, right?
Exactly.
All right. Here's how Ralph speaks. I let go of the parking brake. And
Perfect.
Chief Wiggum pedals it, tries to go behind his son, offering the proposition that if Ralph stops the car, he'll let him play with his gun. And by his gun, he means his hog.
Oh, okay, that's good.
He's a pig.
Exactly. And pigs have hogs.
Yeah.
And it's a little curly Q, too. Homer arrives at Moe's, proud that he walked the whole way from his house. 3 doors down the street, Bart, Lisa, and Marge stand outside of the Simpsons household, where Bart offers him some encouragement. It's kind of funny. He's just right down the street. Feeling good about himself, Homer considers skipping the bar altogether, and instead continuing his walk. But as we'll hear in this clip, Moe has other wishes.
Maybe I should just keep walking instead of going into a dark, dreary bar.
Hey, get in here, Boozy. You're late for your drunkening.
No, from now on, walking is my beer, and feeling good is my hangover.
Ha! Hey, maybe this is a sign. Maybe it's time for me to get out of the alcohol business. Give Barber College another try. And this time, I won't join a frat. Who the hell am I talking to?
You're talking to us, Mo.
The viewer.
I didn't know barber schools had frats.
Yeah, they make you chug barbicide and wear an Italian's hair.
Mussolini?
That's right.
It is funny how, like, an ongoing, not ongoing, but like a recurrent Simpsons joke is always the geography place joke.
Yeah.
Like, I always love that when the Stonecutters episode where Homer has to, when he parks to work, and then it's just right by his house.
Yeah, there's a fence on the other side, yeah.
And I like to think that Moe's is only like 4 houses down from the Simpsons house.
And yet Homer's driven drunk home many times and nearly caused an accident.
I was watching Simpsons that's not in our jurisdiction, Steve.
Sure.
If that's okay. But it's the one where Bart gets a girlfriend, Sarah Gilbert.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Bart plays the prank on Moe, he says 1046 Evergreen Terrace. This is before it was 742 Evergreen Terrace. Isn't that weird?
That is weird. I've never thought about that. Yeah. Because in that clip, or in that episode too, Moe has to run quite a ways.
Yeah.
And doesn't he stop to look for directions as well?
Yeah, exactly. I really hope someone got fired for that blunder.
Yeah, and now he can just use his cell phone.
Which I determined you can't do that joke anymore because cell phones or landlines. Moe probably doesn't even have one.
Yeah, it's true.
All right. Who the hell am I talking to?
The listener.
Right.
Yeah.
So at the breakfast table the next morning, Homer comments to Bart and Lisa that all of his recent walking is really paying off. To show just how healthy he's become, he grabs a blood pressure monitor to say that he's finally thin enough to wrap the band around his arm. So after congratulating her father, Lisa asks Homer to grab some syrup for her pancakes, and Homer reaches to a nearby shelf grabbing a bottle of Mrs. Buttersworth and places it on the table. So he remarks that previously he would have had to driven to the syrup.
Well, Marge rushes into the kitchen from the grocery store, telling the kids that they need to hurry as they were supposed to leave for the dentist 5 minutes prior. She then makes a funnel out of a pancake and shoves it in Bart's mouth, using it to dump a bowl of cereal down his gullet. Bart gags, but Marge says that they don't have time for choking.
And Homer tells Marge to calm down, calling her Stressarella. And Marge explains that her stress is caused by Homer losing her license, thereby making her the family chauffeur. And Homer offers appreciation for all that Marge does, but adds that real chauffeurs have uniforms and licenses. He then warns her that she could get in a lot of trouble with the Livery Commission. But then Marge puts it, to hell with the Livery Commission! Or is it livery?
The Taxi and Livery Commission is an industry that is basically the chauffeur union. But I had never heard this term before this episode that I just watched.
I thought the livery is where all my alcohol goes.
Better the livery than the diary.
Shut up.
Okay. So, while the driving population of Springfield are stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic, Homer finds himself strolling down the street on the loveliest of days. In a nearby car, Edna Krabappel suggests to Seymour that they make good use of their time waiting for the traffic to clear up. And Skinner agrees, but while Edna had sex in mind, Seymour was thinking more along the lines of taking a teacher evaluation test. So he begins his proctoring by requesting that Krabappel read the directions silently while he reads them aloud to her.
And Homer thinks that the drivers behind the wheels are suckers stuck in metal coffins, and that he can walk to work any way he wishes. And he does so by strolling through the park, where he finds Old Jewish Man and Jasper playing the game, and Homer suggests that the Old Jewish Man play bishop to Queen 4. But the elderly chosen one tells him they're playing dominoes, and Homer finally demands bishop to Queen 4. And the Old Jewish Man obeys.
So, with his lunchbox in hand, Homer walks to work whistling and running a stick upon a nearby fence. While he's doing that, he accidentally hits an older mustachioed man who looks like Mr. Wilson from the Dennis the Menace comic strip. He hits him in the face, and the guy calls Homer a menace. Mr. Wilson's wife tells him to let the boy be. So Mr. Wilson responds that he wants a divorce, which makes Martha ever so happy. And we're talking about meta jokes like Moe talking to the crowd and the collection of 4 black people that the only black people in Springfield. And I wonder if there's another opportunity for a meta joke, because in the early seasons of The Simpsons, Homer sounded a lot like Walter Matthau. And of course, Walter Matthau played Mr. Wilson in the live-action Dennis the Menace cartoon. But I wonder if that's too convoluted for anybody who isn't me.
I want a divorce from this podcast.
Fair enough.
Does that make you ever so happy?
It does, yes.
Or, because Mr. Wilson called him the menace, instead what if it was J. Jonah Jameson, and he was there, and he's like, "Not Homer is a real menace. Now give me photos of Marge."
Is J. Jonah Jameson a creep?
In the Simpsons universe, he is.
And he's also a monkey, which is why it was shown in Editor and Chimp. It all connects.
Wait, we actually had J. Jonah Jameson in the Simpsons universe, played by J.K. Simmons, haven't we?
That's true, yeah.
That's funny. Just kidding, Simmons.
Better than Just Kidding Rowling.
Homer arrives at the Springfield nuclear power plant, where Mr. Burns informs him that he is the first one there, giving him a free ticket to the 1939's World Fair as a prize. So Homer thanks his success to walking, and Monty decides to give it a go. As he takes one step forward, a loud cracking sound is heard, and Burns thinks it's time to drag himself to the hospital, and after a couple of unsuccessful scoots, he asks Smithers to scoop him up and carry him.
Meanwhile, Marge is frustrated that both Bart and Milhouse missed the bus. Bart explains that they were late because they accidentally touched hands and had to wash the cootie's hat off. Marge is then annoyed by the rustling coming from Milhouse's box, and she asks what the hell the noise is, and Milhouse says that it's a show and tell, a Peruvian fighting frog. Bart states that he has a Peruvian fighting frog as well, and both boys pull out their amphibian, and the two frogs wrestle all over the car and into Marge's beehive. And a little bit of trivia, music playing as the frogs fight is entitled Bart and Milhouse Fight. And it's the music they played like when Milhouse got a girlfriend and they fought with the Magic 8 Ball. That's the first time the music was used. And so there's a song called Bart and Milhouse Fight, and they used it for the frogs. Anyway, Milhouse tells Marge that the fighting will stop come nightfall.
And Homer arrives home from work, full of energy, suggesting that the family go for a walk around the block. And the kids are excited. Lisa wants to amble while Bart wishes to saunter. And so as they argue about the pace, Marge yells at them to stop saying things. Noticing that his wife is frazzled, Homer invites Marge along. Marge would love to go, but she has to pick up Grandpa, as he proposed to another sex worker at the bus station. That's our relationship in a nutshell, Steve.
That's right. I gotta pick up Craig again.
Wait, no. No, don't blame me. I was going to blame you.
Oh, we can both pick up sex workers at the bus station.
All right. And our wives can pick us up.
Exactly.
All right. Homer laughs, saying that Marge sure likes driving. And then he and the kids happily skip up and down the street hand in hand, then with the kids on Homer's shoulder, and then again with Homer and on Lisa and Bart's shoulder.
It's a fun joke. So, wearing a tracksuit and wielding a walking stick, Homer struts down the street to a nearby stoop where Moe, Lenny, and Carl are hanging out. Carl remarks that walking has made Homer a new man, and he couldn't agree more.
It sure has. You see this bulge back here? Now it actually is a fanny pack. No, wait, it's still my ass. But your point is well taken. You see, I like to walk down the avenue, bust a move with disco stew.
You shake me from my booty to my fro.
Yes, I strut down the boulevard, burning off my excess lard. I rarely feel the need to utter dough. Top of the morning, ladies!
Bite us.
I can walk from Springfield to Alaska, then hobnob with the stars in Malibu.
Hi, Homer. I'm actor Steve Buscemi.
The guy who got fed into the wood chipper in Fargo? And when I hear, you can't walk to Turkmenistan, I say, of course I can. Screw you.
Hey, would you guys like tickets to the Independent Film Awards?
Would we?
Steve, that's Steve Buscemi, not Buscemi. That guy said his name wrong.
What an idiot.
Yeah.
Good thing he's so attractive.
I know, people give Steve Buscemi knocks on his looks, but look back when he was a younger kid. He's not bad looking.
I don't find anything wrong with him, honestly. Like, he just looks like a guy.
Yeah. Look, if Thora Birch wants to fuck him, and Scarlett Johansson wants to fuck him, isn't that what that movie Ghost World was about?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's a movie I haven't seen since 2003.
I think I watched it during the first pandemic. I say that because we're destined for a lot more. And it's mostly good. Yeah, their relationship, though, is a little creepy. And yeah, there's a little bit of problematic stuff, like some homophobia and some, implied racism, too. But, I don't know. It's still a good movie. I think that the point is that the characters aren't good people, even though you root for them.
Just like everyone on The Simpsons.
That's right. Speaking of, this is the first of two appearances by Steve Buscemi.
Buscemi!
By Steve. That's me, being I Don't Want to Know Why the Caged Bird Sings from season 19, and we reviewed that 102 episodes in episode 209.
We sure did, Steve. I remember that.
Me too.
That's the episode where we discussed your dad being old, and I think your cat made a meow.
Sure, we talked about me getting the USS Flag for Christmas, and,
Right. I think we made a joke about penis size.
Probably. And we made reference to doing it, the Patreon, but never actually doing it.
And we probably said something about Donald Trump.
Yep. Luckily, that's in the review mirror.
Was it last week or the week before where we had a musical number? The newest episode, right?
Yeah.
There's a couple musical stings in this episode. I like that about
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's weird when there's like not a musical thing or aspect, not like a song and dance, like that's, not as common, but usually there's always like a song in a Simpsons episode. It's weird when there's like never any like music.
Sometimes we'll pick out music to play like as an intro or whatever, and it's weird, yeah, when there's nothing to find. And
right.
It's strange because it is such a musical show.
This should win for Best Musical or Comedy at the Golden Globes, not The Martian.
Yeah, come on. I mean, Andy Weir's a great writer, but could have been Best Comedy again? It's been like 5 years now. Like,
yeah.
Let somebody else have a chance.
Yeah. The Bear. Come on, that's the funniest show on TV.
Hilarious. What about Zone of Interest?
Homer continues his song saying that he loves to preambulate. That means walk for pleasure, and hates standing. As he goes to make a big finish, he steps out into the street where he's hit by a car. And the driver of that car is Midge Simpson. As she sits behind the wheel, stunned at her actions, Homer lies on the road, dead. And that's the end of the episode. And The Simpsons.
All right, folks. We'll see you next week for Futurama.
No, Steve, that's not actually what happened. He's just in the road in pain, complaining that his feet are inside of him.
So later at home, Marge offers Homer a meal in bed and an apology. She asks him how his crushed pelvis is doing, and he politely responds that it's good, and thanks for asking. Marge is confused as to what she did, saying that she saw Homer and went for the brake, but instead hit the accelerator. Homer tells her that he's fine, and it could have been a lot worse had he not been carrying a Bible in his crotch.
Dr. Hibbert informs Marge that while Homer is recovering, she'll pretty much have to do everything for him. That does include wiping his ass, doesn't it?
I think so.
Well, Marge says that it's fine and that she can handle it. She tells Homer to relax and have some soup. So she spoon feeds him and finds that the soup to be far too hot. And Marge nervously apologizes and then just gets up, thereby spilling the soup all over Homer's injured body. And after a range of temperatures and emotions, Homer is on the road to wellness. Marge's feelings towards him, however, are not so hot.
Hot, warm, tepid, cool, cold, so cold.
Oh, you're really coming along, homie.
Yeah, the doctor says that soon my pelvis will actually be stronger and more beautiful than ever.
Gee, everything always works out for you. Oh my God, let me help you up.
Marge, you're trying to hurt me.
What? That's crazy.
No, it's true. The car, the soup, it's like you hate me. Your own husband.
That's ridiculous. I don't like you. I mean, hate you, I hate you.
I've heard that from coworkers, strangers on the street, even my own children. But I never thought I'd hear it from you.
Maybe we should see a counselor.
Who's we? Got a mouse in your purse?
There's just something about the end of the heartfelt, like, realization and of Homer and wanting to fix things. Just,
yeah.
Who's we? Got a mouse in your purse? Like,
I also love that line, like, as a, just in general, just like, it's a funny line, like,
seems so, like, old-timey, too, you know?
It does, yeah.
That's what I love about it.
I also like in that clip, first of all, Marge's reading of, like, her going from, I don't like you, I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. Also, last week, didn't we have a joke where Homer's top half was really hot, and his lower half was really cold, but his center was, like, just right?
Yeah.
And then here we have the soup, which is too hot, too cold, too tepid, and now it's too cold. So that's just...
And there's going to be another reference to last week's episode as well. Or I found in this episode.
Oh, fun.
Ooh, I'm excited. I'm very excited to get to it.
So Homer and Marge visit a marriage counselor where the one who's wrong pays. And as they await their appointment, they see Apu and Manjula leaving their session. Apu is grateful that his wife has finally forgiven his infidelity, good callback, and Manjula responds by jabbing him in the gut. Apu happily says that she used to elbow him in the face, and then he grins a smile with several of his teeth missing.
So once Marge and Homer are on the couch, Marge lets her emotions fly, telling the therapist that they've been married 10 years, and part of her wants to kill Homer. The counselor offers that maybe Homer sees Marge as less of a partner and more of a doormat? Homer argues that it is impossible, but then he looks at Marge, and her head turns into a welcome mat. Homer admits that the doctor may have a point, and he looks at the counselor, who appears to have turned into a hot dog. And as Homer apologizes to the doctor and says it's fine and views Homer as a dollar sign, the couple then work a project to help their healing.
All right, before you came in, I asked you each to make a list of the people that are most important to you. Homer, you first.
There's Homer, Homer J. Simpson, and Commander Cool, a.k.a. me.
That's us in a nutshell. I care so much about you, Homer, but I'm not even on your list. Excuse me.
We gotta help her. If Marge isn't happy, I'm not happy. And if I'm not happy, Mo is very happy. But for once, this isn't about Mo. What should I do, Dr. Hot Dog?
All right, I have an answer. You must perform for her one completely unselfish gesture.
You mean like give her full custody of the kids?
Yeah, full custody. That's exactly what You're an idiot.
Oh!
You gotta knock her off her feet with something utterly romantic. Something that says, I care about you.
I see. Do you have any suggestions?
I do, but the hour's over.
Here's $1.
Romantic dinner.
Gotta go.
You see, last week Homer had a list of the most important people, and it was Homer, Marge, the rest. And then, Santa's Little Helper was over Marge. But now it's just Homer and then Homer J. Simpson on his list.
Oh, that's funny.
Marge is gone.
In a week where she's doing all the driving, too. What a dick.
Yeah, last week we said Homer was in dumbass Homer mode, but this episode he's very much a jerk-ass Homer.
Yeah, I do like him calling the therapist Dr. Hot Dog, though. That's funny.
What's up, Hot Dog?
I don't think it'll stick. Homer takes Bart and Lisa to Moe's, as one does, to brainstorm a grand romantic gesture for Marge. Lisa tells her father that Marge loves julienne potatoes, and for dessert, a peach crumble. Moe chimes in saying, "You know how to make a peach crumble? A kick to the groin." Moe, you're all right. The barkeep laughs at his own quip and asks what's going on. Homer declares that he's going to treat his wife to a romantic dinner to make up for all of his shortcomings.
Don't you wish all of your comings were short?
I actually sometimes wish they were a little bit longer, if you know what I mean.
I didn't know Marge liked julienne potatoes.
I didn't know that either. And I actually didn't know that julienne potatoes were actually a thing because I thought julienne was just a method of cutting, but julienne potatoes is actually a recipe.
Should I make them for you right now?
You really should.
Julie Ann's potatoes. So Julie Ann, she just puts them in the microwave for 20 seconds and calls it good.
Okay.
Gross. Could you eat a raw potato?
I probably have before. I don't know if I would. I wouldn't sit down and eat it like an apple, but wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
All right, well, for your birthday, can you eat a potato for me?
I will. For my birthday, I'll eat a potato for you.
Thank you. You can wash it if you want.
Oh, thanks. That's kind of you.
Don't forget to use Barkeeper's Friend, because that's the best way to get stains off.
Yep.
Oh, man. Do you think Mo has Barkeeper's Friend?
I don't think Mo has many friends.
No. Okay. Hearing about the banquet for Marge, Lenny and Carl both volunteered to help. Carl can make his chicken with wine sauce. He says it in a French way, but we don't support that kind of language on this podcast.
Fuck no.
Your French is not pardoned, Steve. And Homer tells him that he could bring, as the French would say, sac de glace, or bag of ice.
Very nice. You are what the French call incompetent. Still frustrated, Marge drives home, muttering to herself. She'll show Homer by making his beloved mock apple pie with real apples.
You know what's really weird? Is I was having a discussion with Heather before we watched this episode like a week ago about have you ever had mock apple pie? I was just thinking about it because it's like it was a Depression era type of food or dessert. But I always liked mock apple pie because there's no apples in it. It's just Ritz crackers and brown sugar and butter and cinnamon.
Sounds great. Yeah.
You've never had mock apple pie either?
No, I know that my wife made it like in Girl Scouts or something. So like she's made it before, but like she hasn't been a Girl Scout for at least a decade.
At least, Jesus.
But no, so I've never had it, but like it does sound good actually.
Yeah, it's pretty tasty. It's like no nutritional value, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, is actual pie? No.
No.
Tell your wife to make you a mock apple pie.
Maybe I will, Craig. Maybe I will. So Marge arrives at 742 Evergreen Terrace, stunned to see a crowd of people outside of her house. In the backyard, a banner says, "We love you, Marge," and everyone in Springfield is there, all cheering when Marge arrives.
So one person in the missing is Ned Flanders, and Homer explains that he was mysteriously called out of town. Homer laughs to himself when he cut to a train where Ned, Rod, and Todd are sitting because, Maud's dead. Ned holds a letter that says, "Dude, meet me in Montana. XOXO Jesus." Parentheses H Christ. Ned says that he got the message and he's coming as fast as he can. Hey, we can eliminate Montana from where's Springfield at, right?
That's true.
We had a list. We know it's not in Hawaii or Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
And now Montana.
47 more to go. We'll figure it out.
47's our favorite number in this country.
That's right. It's almost as good as 45. Some might say better. Back in Springfield, Homer has prepared everything for Marge. Sea Captain McAllister presents Marge with his finest catch of the day, saying that he lost a dozen good men getting it, but it was all worth it, just to see how Marge will smile. And Marge looks at the fish and lets out a tepid wow. So, underwhelmed by her response, Captain McAllister walks away, saying that he has some news to give to some families, while cursing Marge under his breath. Luigi then presents the main course.
And now, Marge, I bring you the main course. A lecture recording artist / a political activist, Jackson Brown.
Oh, the pretender.
When Homer told me about this special night, I just had to be a part of it. I'm here to serenade you with a song.
Yay!
From my latest album.
Oh.
Just kidding. Here's one of my many classics.
That I fixed with new words.
You hooked up in high school, now you've come so far. And you started to hate him and hit him with your car.
So I threw you a fancy banquet, and now you can't stay mad. How about a makeup snuggle? It would be so rad.
It's funny how, like Jackson Brown has a wonderful singing voice, right? But it's like talking voices.
Yeah.
Kind of goofy. It's like us. We have terrible voices. Does that mean, our singing voice is probably really pretty?
I would assume so.
All right, Steve, give me a few bars of a public domain song.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream.
Okay, even Shatner has a better singing voice than you, Steve.
It's true. But I've got better hair.
I feel like this is now a trope of Homer having to win Marge over and using an actual famous musician like Weird Al Yankovic or Elton John.
This is exactly how the Weird Al episode ends, except for he did a parody of a John Cougar Mellencamp song, which is in the same ballpark as Jackson Brown in my eyes.
Yeah. Marge is touched by how much Homer cares and says that she loves him. Homer nervously asks if she still wants to kill him, and she says, "Only with kisses." And Homer whimpers, and Marge tells him not to be a wuss. As they kiss, Jackson Brown continues the song.
Later, Homer gives a toast to Marge, saying that she's done so much and received so little in return. But Bart corrects his father, saying that she has a place to live and free food. So, in one hand, Homer chokes Bart, and then invites everyone to raise their wine boxes to Marge. It's kind of funny that the wine box is there because it was kind of, at the time, considered like a goofy thing to have like a juice box full of wine, but that's kind of like not that weird or that trashy anymore because people do it all the time.
There's so many wine boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you go to the grocery store now, or any store that says alcohol, there used to be like the bottom shelf wine was the Franzia next to the, what's that, Carl Robel, those giant jugs. Like that's the bottom shelf wine. But now like a whole aisle is devoted to just boxed wine.
Yeah, like your Bandit, your Bodabox, there's like tons of brands, and they're all pretty okay. Food and drinks are enjoyed by all, and as Patty and Selma enjoy their post-meal cigar, Patty comments that our Control Top Pennyholes panel is in shards.
Marge thinks the crowd and Homer tells her that they cooked so she can clean. He then says that he's joking and that they've flown in the finest busboys from France, and then corrects himself saying that staff is from America. So the servers then emerge laughing and ribbiting like a Frenchman. And Homer closes the night by telling everyone to get the hell out of his yard. So he turns the sprinklers on and everyone runs away, and that's how The Simpsons ends.
That's great. Well, I think we need to end this segment by taking a break. We'll be right back. Alrighty, we're back. Let's finish up our discussion of Break My Wife, Please. We'll talk about the things that made us laugh, the things that made us think, and what we liked in the episode, and even what we're watching next week. But before we do all of that, we like to give each other some gifts from the episode to kind of share the bond of friendship. And well, Craig, I've got you some great things because I think that you recently purchased an automobile, and I think it's a little stale, so I got you a Light-Brite, a fax machine, and a deep fryer.
How do you know I don't already have those in my car?
Well, you can always have 2 deep fryers because sometimes you need fries and sometimes you need hush puppies. You can never have too many Light-Brites, like I've got 6 in my bedroom right now. And the other thing that I got you was also important too. A fax machine. Like, you can fax yourself back and forth. That'll be fun.
Well, now I'll have 8 deep fryers in my car.
Excellent. Careful on those turns.
I appreciate the gift, and you two will get a gift, and that is something I stole from Judge Constance Harm's desk, podium, I guess you call it, dais. It's her tiny little guillotine. You could put little things in there, like your wiener or something. I don't know.
I love it. And then I can feed it to the dogs and burn their poop.
Or, it's probably like, you know what that is that she had, I just now realized. It's a cigar cutter that's a little guillotine. That's cute.
It is cute, yeah.
And here, I got you a box of Cubans. Yes, make a joke, Steve.
Hey, there's Leon.
Hey, it's 2003. We can make that joke.
Exactly.
No one knows what we're talking about.
Yeah, you don't look it up. It's fine.
It's about a kid that... Anyways, but yeah, thanks again for gifts.
Of course, thank you, Craig. And what made you laugh in this episode? What gave you the gift of laughter?
Well, I would have thought it was life gave me the gift of laughter, but I guess it's The Simpsons. And what is The Simpsons? It is life.
Yes, and life is Simpsons.
We discussed it right at the beginning of the episode, and that's, of course, the aquarium tour guide.
Shut up.
The whole aquarium was a lot of fun, great way to start the show. Of course, I always loved the penguins being shifty.
Mm-hmm.
Mo was kind of fun in this episode, too. I thought Detective or Editor and Chimp is something that I'm very excited to watch. I hope that's a real movie.
Mm-hmm.
Homer still being funny, and see, I don't say Marge is an MVJ because, well, she was good. I like her snappiness.
Mm-hmm.
Her snapping, I like that. But, I mean, even the, who did the voice of the psychiatrist?
That's Hank.
Yeah, a very different voice than he usually does, too, which is nice.
Yeah.
So, but, tour guide, I think, might have to get it. MVJ. We're talking about favorite scenes, though, right? Man. Yeah, a lot of star-studded guests, like Lindsay Naegle and Constance Harm and Mr. and Mrs. Wilson. Steve Buscemi with the song parody. A lot of good song stuff, yeah. Dr. Hot Dog.
Mm-hmm. The women from Buttercups of Autumn.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of LOLs in this episode. So how about you?
Yeah, I do agree with you that I think the aquarium tour guide is my MVJ. Although I do have to shout out Hank, because he played Dr. Hot Dog well, and also the Try and Save employee who said dash hole and sold Homer all the appliances for his car. That was fun. All the aquarium stuff is great. The opening sequence is just bananas and in a good way. The therapist scene, the video store scene, Lindsay Naegle popping out of the morgue, how pissy Marge is, and rightfully so. When they have the dinner for Marge, it's kind of weird because Rainier Wolfcastle is hanging out with Patty and Selma, and I don't know why.
Sex?
Probably. Okay, that makes sense. Also, I love...
No, Steven, I'm asking for sex.
Oh, sure. Anytime. Just not for me. But I also love the letter from Jesus Christ, in parentheses, Jesus Saves Christ, was really funny. So yeah, there's a lot of funny in this episode, but Craig, what did you think of the episode in its entirety?
Well, there is a lot of jokes. Last week's episode, Old Yeller Belly, really enjoyed that one. And then this one, I feel like it's kind of everything that we said we didn't like about this era of The Simpsons, because it's, and we discussed many times, the standard Homer fucks up and Marge, and Homer fucks up and Marge, and he has to win Marge back.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's like one of the 6 stories they can tell, because that's all there is. But I did kind of enjoy how Marge really was pissed in this episode, but it felt kind of like, in a way, lazy is not the right word, but just, it seemed cookie cutter or very formulaic. Like, okay, well, like we mentioned, like, let's just get a singer to fix this, and it will. Shouldn't the conflict be like Homer trying to get his license back, and he never does? Like that, we don't care about that apparently. So it's not really solved. The problem is not solved because he doesn't get his license back. He's not driving, so she still has to do all this stuff, right?
That's true.
I feel like it wasn't as the problem wasn't as fleshed out, I think, for the story wise.
I agree.
It is one of those like how last week's I felt like maybe the story was a little bit more I don't know, it's still kind of goofy too. This one's still goofy and fine, but I think it's the nature of this podcast too, where we watch one episode and then travel to a different time period the next week. So now we're like watching 2 season 14 episodes back to back, where it's kind of the same formula.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm like, it just kind of hit like there's just like an outline where the Simpsons writers at this time had to just fill in the blanks of, like make sure in 7 minutes and 42 seconds you get this joke in. And Marge and Homer breakup episodes usually are some of my least favorite ones. All sitcoms do this because lessons never learned. Everything's reset. While I did enjoy the jokes, I feel like our experiment of doing episodes back to back from the same season in order, I'm glad the way we do our podcast the way we do, because I feel like I would just be pissed off every week starting now. But if it's on in the background, I'll watch this episode. I'm very mid-fire. Is that what kids use? Or just mid? I don't have to say fire, right?
Right, I think so. I don't even know what mid-fire means. Like, that seems like a really bad place to be. If you're in the middle of a fire, like, you're dying.
But you're not on flames, or there's no flames on you yet, so.
That's true.
I'm mid-fire. But if I had to give this a ranking, Steve, of course, the great Jackson Browne. Did he, do some wrong stuff in the past?
He might.
I feel like him and Daryl Hannah didn't have a good breakup.
Oh, that's possible, yeah.
Anyways, we're not talking about them personally, but we're going to talk about Jackson Browne and his albums, Steve. You know how many studio albums he's released?
I have no idea. Oh, yeah, he was physically abusive. Never mind. Okay.
15?
Wow.
Yeah. His first album was in 1972. The most recent one was in 2021. Anyways, we're not going to go 15 out of 15. That would be silly. His number 1 in the chart position album, you would think would be The Pretender, right? Because that's one of his most famous one. That was only a number 5.
Wow.
But his number 1 album of all time was Hold Out from 1980. That actually reached the number 1 charts. So with Hold Out being number 1, Running on Empty was number 3. That's another good song. But his least popular album on the charts was, of course, the most recent one, Downhill from Everywhere, which was number 86 on the charts.
Oof.
If I had to give this episode between Downhill from Everywhere being the worst and the best, of course, being Hold Out, I'm going to give this episode a Lives in the Balance, or is it Lives in the Balance?
Ooh.
From 1986. I won't give you the number on that. How about you, Steve?
We tend to agree. And I think that this is another one of those things where maybe Dr. Samuel Beckett had a point leaping around from life to life instead of going in chronological order, because, when we're watching 2 episodes back to back from the same season, when it's not the newest season, you kind of feel what was going on, and you kind of understand why, when we watch this, initially we may have liked it less. We were also younger and dumber. We're still pretty dumb, but...
And full of cummer.
That's right. But I do love the humor in this episode. I think there's a lot of fun, goofy jokes, especially in that first third of the episode with the field trip. But the plot just falls really flat for me. And also, if you think about it, what chores is Homer really doing at this time? Because it's jerk-ass Homer era where he's too selfish, so he's not, like, running errands for Marge. He's not going to run his own dry cleaning anyway. I mean, sure, he'll pick up Lenny and Carl from the strip club, but aside from that, Marge is probably doing all the heavy lifting regarding the driving anyway, so getting a singer and a half-assed attempt to, like, save their marriage, we've seen it, we've done it, but that all being said, I think this is an okay episode that I wouldn't turn off. It's got the jokes that are fun, but it's okay. So, Comic Book Guy is driving around in his Volkswagen Beetle singing that he can't drive 55. Well, I'll have you know that the average Volkswagen Beetle tops out at about the speed of 80. So I'm going to give this episode a 55 out of 80.
You've always been a David Lee Roth guy anyway, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. Let's not forget about the third guy from Extreme, whatever his name is.
Lance Bass.
There it is, yes.
Okay.
So yeah, that's our thoughts on Break My Wife, Please. And, you know, normally we'd have either a new episode or the Wheel of Random, but next week is a very special week for the Annoyed Grunt Boys.
Is it our quinceanera?
It feels like it. But it's actually our Siete Quinceanera, because it's our 6-year anniversary.
Wow, 6 years.
Yes, we've been doing this for 6 years, and even though we still have hundreds of episodes to do, we thought, why not cover one that we've already done before?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, that's right. We are going to do something very fun, very special. We're going to go back to our first episode that we reviewed, Dial In for Nerder, Season 19, Episode 14, and we're going to look at it with fresh eyes, with our years of podcast experience and our knowledge and our cool, slick sound and good at podcasting stuff that we do. And we're going to look at it again, see what we think. Doesn't that sound like fun?
Yeah, do I have to say what happens in it? Because I kind of don't remember.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Dial N for Nerder. Okay, N Nerder. I'm going to say that Lisa's a nerd. So she decides that enough is enough because all the nerds in Springfield Elementary are getting picked on by Nelson and Jimbo and the likes. So she starts a superhero organization to combat bullies by having Bart beat them up because she found a pheromone. I think that already was an episode.
It really was, yeah.
That beats up kids. Okay, she invents a drug that makes Bart do her bidding. So then Bart goes around beating up bullies for nerds. Nerds for hire.
I like it.
And in the B story, Marge and Homer start a competing figure skating team.
Okay. That sounds like a lot of fun. However, you are not right, because when a cliffside prank goes wrong, Bart and Lisa are convinced they've killed teacher's pet Martin Prince. Meanwhile, Marge wages war against Homer and his opposing ice skating team. Nope. His Jelly Belly by hiring a nutritionist.
Steve, have you watched this episode?
Not in 6 years. How about you, Craig?
Yeah, I guess it's been 6 years. This is going to be a fun experiment. So, even though, yes, we've reviewed this episode, but this is kind of like we get to redo it because that very first episode, the audio sucks. We didn't know what we were doing at the time. So, we decided because our next week's episode lands on the same day as our first episode airs, so why not release the same episode? But it won't be the same episode. We're fresh new eyes with sound clips and all, like we do now.
Yes, it's going to be a lot of fun, and we hope that you listen to us as you always do, and it'll be a good one, or at least a better one than it was.
Yeah, hopefully. Now, are you going to listen to what we said already? Or are you just going to come up with the same thing? Because I feel like we talk about it all the time, that we don't, listen to other Simpsons podcasts because we don't get ideas from them. I feel like that's going to be the same thing if we listen to our first episode, which, God, I don't want to.
Right.
That like, oh yeah, I'll make sure I remember this. Like, what if we liked the episode or didn't like the episode and then we watch it again, we love it? I have no idea. We might contradict ourselves.
I think that's going to be better that way, though. I think it's fun to, like, with our experience with The Simpsons, is as we've experienced them in the past over half a decade, you know, I think that we need to look at it blind and just see what we think about it now and not really review what we thought then, because, you know, we've changed. The episode stayed the same, but, like, our worldview has grown or not grown. I don't know, but it'll be fun to see what we think.
Right. I'm very excited for next week's episode, Steve. So make sure you get your party hats, or what's the 6th anniversary present?
Iron and candy.
All right. I will get you Iron Man candies.
And I'll get you Candyman irons.
It sounds like a boxer from, like, the 30s. Oh, Candyman irons here.
He's got his, like, pants rolled up to his nipples.
Yeah. I can see, like, some Irish guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, man. All right. So let's sleep until the 30th, okay?
Sounds good. And we don't want you to sleep on contacting us via the socials like YouTube, Instagram, and Threads at 13simpsons, or you can always email us. That's probably the way to go. At 13simpsons@gmail.com.
We like emails.
Yes.
But we also like reviews. So go to Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star or the equivalent, but you don't have to actually leave a real review. No, you can just tell us your favorite Jackson Browne song.
Ooh, I like it. And hey, while you're online, you can go to tpublic.com/user/annoyedgruntboys and get yourself some cool 138 Simpsons swag. You'll be glad that you did. All right. Thank you so much for listening. For this week, I've been Annoyed Grunt Boy Steve.
And I've been Annoyed Grunt Boy Craig.
And remember, public transportation is for lesbians and jerks.
I'm late for my drunkening.
Shut up. It's not that exciting.